along first. Behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it.
The Mets win. They win. Unbelievable. The Red Sox in stunned disbelief. A slow ground ball went right through the legs of Buckner down the right field line. The Mets have won the ball game. 3 runs in the bottom half of the 10th inning.
Howdy, baseball fans, and welcome to the Do Baseball Toddcast on the ChristopherMedia.net network, also on Apple Podcasts. You can get me over at Google Play, on Spotify these days, as well as Stitcher. I'm your friendly and congenial host, Todd. Hey, thanks for clicking over today. Appreciate that. Kind of a sad week in the world of baseball, as you just heard, and I'm sure you've heard prior to this. Bill Buckner passed away this week on Memorial Day, this Monday, from dementia at the age of 69. And the first thing I thought about when I heard about Buckner, obviously, was that. It gets by Buckner. The Vin Scully call back in 1986, Game 6 of the World Series. Mets went on to win the next game. Cost the Red Sox their first title since 1918, and he was vilified by Red Sox Nation for years. Somebody pointed this out to me this week. They had it both ways. They said that they had it in their minds that they were cursed, but they still blamed Buckner. He was unfairly beaten on for a really long time, and I never heard him talk about this later in life, but this is a guy I suspect who would have had something to say about mob behavior, being attacked, or something you did or something you said. Online, anywhere else. This guy experienced this firsthand. The way he handled it throughout the rest of his life was exemplary. I've got an example for you coming up, but this is a baseball podcast, and I want to talk about Bill Buckner, the hitter. He was a wonderful hitter. He had such an incredible career beyond that one ball that went through his legs in one game, one play in 1986. And it almost, it sadly overshadowed everything else he did in his baseball career. And one of my favorite stats about Buckner, he's one of only a couple of players, I think, who played in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and the 1990s. That's how long he was around, how good he was. Now, he barely did this by the skin of his teeth. He played in only one game as a 19-year-old for the 1969 Dodgers. One game, got one at bat, but it counts, along with the 48 at bats he got when he returned to the Red Sox for his swan song as a 40-year-old in 1990. But he spent 22 seasons in Major League Baseball, played for some incredible franchises, the Cubs, the Dodgers, the Red Sox, also played a couple of seasons for the Angels and the Royals. He got more than 2,700 hits, almost 3,000 hits. 1,208 RBIs. He scored over 1,000 runs. He was the 1980 batting champion with the Cubs, National League champion. Hit .289 for his career, and that was sort of dropped toward the end as he hung on. And think about this in the context of today's game. He had just over 10,000 plate appearances in his career, Bill Buckner did, over 22 seasons. Do you know how many times he struck out? In over 10,000 plate appearances, 453 times. That's it in 10,000 appearances, 453 strikeouts. Now, by way of comparison, Jacoby Jones has already struck out 266 in 800 plate appearances. You're more than halfway there. Well over halfway there. I think Tony Gwynn was the only player to have a lower strikeout rate. A wonderful career. Overshadowed by one play in the 1986 World Series. A big one, admittedly, but it's really, really unfair. And he kind of reminds me of Ralph Branca. I think was it Bobby Thompson? Ralph Branca, Bobby Thompson? Yeah, the shot heard around the world. The Giants win the pennant. The Giants win the pennant. Ernie Harwell called that game, by the way. There's no existing tape of it. Side note for Tigers fans, but Ernie Harwell was calling that game. But he reminds me of Branca in that both of these guys eventually learned to accept their place in baseball history. I don't know that they embraced it, necessarily, but they accepted it at least. Maybe they could embrace it a little bit. Poke a little fun at themselves. I know Bronca and Bobby Thompson went off and did interviews together for quite a while. I've seen a couple of those. Really interesting stuff, man. If you're interested in old-time baseball, check out the TV appearances Ralph Bronca and Bobby Thompson did together. Buckner was sort of the same way. I mean, sometimes that's the best you can do. What are you going to do about it? You can't change it. The best you can do is make the best you can do, right? And he did that. And Curb Your Enthusiasm. This is a show on HBO, and I need to warn you, this is not a profane podcast, but get your ears ready here. You're going to hear a little bit of profanity coming up, but Curb Your Enthusiasm has long been one of my favorite TV shows, and Buckner played himself in an episode in season 8 of that series, in an episode called Mr. Softy. It's wonderful. It's hilarious. That show's hilarious anyway. But this episode, I had never seen it. I thought I had seen most of these. But I had never seen this episode. I heard about it somewhere else earlier in the week, decided to go watch it today. Oh, it's hilarious. Now, if you're a baseball fan and you're a comedy fan and you've missed this, you need to go check this out. It's hilarious. And I think there's a couple of pieces of audio it sort of gives you an idea of who Bill Buckner was, how he dealt with what happened to him, embraced it, and even learned to poke a little bit of fun at himself. Let me play a little clip for you here. Watch your ears.
I just got to get Mookie's autograph.
I'll get it for you.
Oh, great. Thanks.
Yeah, that guy owes me one.
Michael Jordan had a Hitler mustache.
Yeah, I saw that. He's the first one to wear that since Hitler, isn't he?
You know what? I think that's true.
Hey, Buckner, you suck.
Hey, have a nice day, fellas.
Nice catch.
What jerks, huh?
Oh, my God. How do you put up with that?
Hey, just get used to it.
Fuck you, Buckner.
Hey!
You stink.
Ah, so do you.
Are you Bill Buckner?
Yeah.
Herman here is from Boston. He's a big Red Sox fan, and he can't be in the same room with Bill Buckner. I'll have to ask you to please leave. I'm terribly sorry.
Are you serious?
I'm really...
Are you for real?
October 1986.
Jesus Christ.
2 outs.
Larry, don't worry about it. Hey, they can't help themselves.
Yeah,
Don't
you're
worry
damn
about it.
right.
Yeah, we
they
can't
don't.
help ourselves. Don't let the door go through your legs on the way out, Buckner.
What a jerk.
I only regret I can't ruin your life before you leave.
Guess whose name?
Guess whose name's on there, huh?
Who's your fave?
Mookie Wilson?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
You have the most thoughtful wife in the world.
Thank you.
It wouldn't have happened if I didn't go to the show. And oh,
see.
you want to see it?
Let me see it. Quick. Let me see
Hey,
it.
Buck, catch.
What?
What are you doing?
What the
Wow.
fuck?
Hey, sorry.
What happened?
Sorry.
Oh my God!
I missed it.
It's
I'm
in the
sorry.
middle of the street, Larry. What the hell were you doing?
What? No,
Why'd
I-
you throw it to him?
You know, we just...
I thought you were
Hey, it
a
was a horse-
professional. You couldn't
it was a
even
horse
catch.
shit throw.
No, well, it was a horseshit catch
Hey,
also.
Buck,
Hey,
come
who
on.
the-
That was a
what-
good
you know-
throw. You bobbled it.
It was Mookie Wilson, Buckner.
Mookie Wilson. What
Yeah.
What Mookie do? All he hit is a
Oh,
little
get the fuck out
shitty
of my
ground
house.
ball.
Get out, both of you. You ruined the gift. Get out.
Hey, Larry, that's a horse shit throw.
Shit, come on, it's in your hands. How could you miss that ball? Are you serious?
Shit happens, Larry.
Shit happens.
I thought you were a baseball player. You can't catch a goddamn toss.
I cannot help but laugh at that. It's such a wonderful piece of comedy and such a wonderful example of someone who's making the best out of what happened to him. It just speaks volumes. I never met the man, but it speaks volumes, I think, as to who Bill Buckner was. He died this week at the age of 69, died in Boise, Idaho, and baseball was a better game for having him in it. Also, I wanted to mention there is an excellent article on him. If you want more Buckner stuff on ESPN, Tim Kirkchin, excellent writer. Excellent writer. Go check out what he put up on ESPN about Buckner earlier this week. All right, let's get on to happier things, shall we? Major League Draft is coming up this Monday, and the Detroit Tigers. Lots more on them coming up later in the show. They have the number 5 pick in this year's draft. Should get a pretty good hitter. I don't think there's any pitchers who are even slated to go in the top 7 or 8. So Tigers should get a decent hitter, should get a decent prospect to help fill out the hitting ranks in the minor leagues and to start building some sort of offensive force for this next supposedly competing team that's on the way. First 4 picks in the draft are Baltimore, Kansas City, the Chicago White Sox, and the Miami Marlins. Dallas Keuchel and Craig Kimbrell still out there, still unsigned, if you can believe that. There are rumblings about the Atlanta Braves and the Minnesota Twins looking at one or both of those pitchers, and they should be off the board by the end of next week. Everybody's sort of waiting. They have this draft pick attached to them because of the qualifying offer. It's a ridiculous system. That's why Keuchel and Kimbrell are still not signed. That, and they're asking for too much money because of the draft pick thing. But they should be signed, and they should be throwing a baseball for a team sometime right around this time next week. It's such a stupid rule. They need to get rid of this. Derek Dietrich, you've been paying attention to him? Sort of a throw-in guy, a throw-in acquisition. Came up, I think, from the Marlins to the Cincinnati Reds over the winter. Well, he's hitting like Barry Bonds without the batting average this year. Hit 3 home runs the other night. He's got 7 home runs his last 10 games. And Derek Dietrich has 17 home runs on the year. Whoa. In only 122 at-bats. 17 bombs, 122 at-bats. I don't have a calculator here, but I can tell you it's right around 8 at-bats per home run. That's really, really, really good. That is elite Hall of Fame level Bonzian stuff. And he's not going to sustain that. He hits it the ballpark, whatever they call that thing down there in Cincinnati, a little bandbox, Great American Ballpark. I hope that's what it's called. Instead of Massachusetts Park or something. But a little tiny park. He's going to hit a lot of home runs down there, but he has been ungodly so far in the year. He's hitting only 262 right now, but he's slugging 713. This isn't the second week in April here. We're coming up. We're knocking on June's door here in the next couple of days. His on-base percentage, or his OBP rather, or OPS, sorry, is up right around 1,100. Again, real good. Now, staying on the topic of the Reds, if you're a Tiger fan, you probably shouldn't go look at what Jose Iglesias is doing for the Reds this year, especially with the folly at shortstop we've been having since Jordy Mercer got hurt. Jose Iglesias, remember him? Good defensive guy, didn't have a lot of power, didn't hit for real good average. He's hitting over 300. He has twice as many home runs right now as Miguel Cabrera. Now, yeah, he's playing at Hitter's Park, but that's still Jose Iglesias compared to Miguel Cabrera. Oh, goody. Injury news, Carlos Correa. This is great. I want to hear more of this story. It's not good. It's not great. I shouldn't say it's great. It's interesting. It's a unique story. Carlos Correa is going to miss 4 to 6 weeks with a fractured rib. Do you know how he broke his rib? Getting a massage. Carlos Correa broke his rib getting a massage. There is more to this story, right? There's got to be more to this story. Has to be. And even if there isn't, I think we should make something up. This is the perfect opportunity for a little creative writing exercise, don't you think? A rib-breaking massage. 4 to 6 weeks. Astros are going to survive this. They're fine out there in the West. They're going to miss him, but, you know, that's not going to make a big difference. I don't think Oakland's going to overtake him, but we're crying out loud a massage. I love it. Just 2 days after Giancarlo Stanton began his minor league rehab assignment, the Yankees announced that Stanton has been returned to the injured list with left calf tightness. So he's got a calf problem going on. Good news for the Yankees. James Paxton came off the injured list. That'll help their pitching staff immensely, and they're doing really well even without him. Surprise team of the first half of the season, perhaps the entire year with all the injuries they have, is the New York Yankees. I think they've won something like 8 straight series now. They have not done that since the Jeter heyday of 1998. 8 straight series they've won without Severino, without Stanton, without Judge. I shudder to think what that team's going to look like when they come back. Without Andujar? Without Didi Gregorius? That's a MASH unit, and they're ripping it up. The American League East. Interesting story with Ben Zobrist. He's been on the restricted list since May 8th. It was what was called a personal matter. Basically, his marriage is falling apart. Both he and his wife have filed divorce papers. That's his business, right? This is a baseball podcast. The Cubs aren't even sure that Zobrist will be back at all this year, and it's wreaking havoc with that team. He is a huge, integral part, a versatile piece in the Cubs machine. and they may not have him back for the rest of the year. Dustin Pedroia, ever since Manny Machado took him out a couple of years ago, he hasn't been able to get that knee healthy. And he acknowledged this week that his career might be done. He doesn't know if he's going to be able to come back from this. That's terrible. Dustin Pedroia, good for baseball. Little guy. You don't like him when he's playing your team, but man, what a ball player he is. Was and is, and I really hope that is fatalistic thinking and he can get this together because Red Sox and baseball are better when he's wearing that uniform. It's June 1st on Saturday. This season is 1/3 of the way over, all right? It's time to start paying really close attention to what Cody Bellinger's doing in Los Angeles. This isn't a couple of weeks stretch now. He's putting up Triple Crown numbers out there. You got to remember, this kid set the rookie home run record a couple of years ago with 39. He fell off to like 25 last year, but he's almost there already. He's hit 20 home runs. By the end of May, he's driven in 52. Now remember, I want you to project out. This is 1/3 of the way through the season. That means he's on pace for right around 60 bombs, 150 RBIs, and he's hitting around 380. Incredible. Slugging percentage is obscene. 760. That's higher than Dietrich's. Higher than Dietrich's. And he's playing every day. Oh, by the way, Bellinger doesn't turn 24 until next month. Till July, actually. We may be seeing a historic season out there. He's setting some sort of... I don't really follow WAR all that much. You won't hear me talk about WAR. Wins above replacement too much, but he's on the... I think he either set a record for reaching 5 wins this early in the season, or he's really close to it. That's how good he's been. And he plays defense, too. Did you see the throw the other night? I think it was against the Mets. Looked like it was shot out of a cannon, man. I know that's cliche, but it did. Just doing. I mean, it was just on a line, no gravity. Looks like it was thrown on the moon. Oakland Athletics won 10 straight. Finally lost a couple of games in a row, so that streak's over with. But they're still in second place in the American League West. And Fernando Rodney, you remember him, our old pal, our old friend, was released by the A's this week. He is no longer there. He's out on the market somewhere. Hey, Tigers. Hey. Why not? Do you got something to lose? Give us some nostalgia instead of Reininger. How's that? If you want, you can put nostalgia on the back of his jersey instead of Rodney. I don't care. Just something, anything. Please. He's got to be able to fill a decent hole in that bullpen until somebody's ready to come up. Right? Are you with me? I like the idea. Fernando Nostalgia now pitching for the Detroit Tigers. Be great. Phillies Odubel. I always screw up his name. Odubel Herrera. I want to call him Odubel. Odubel. Potent Odubel. I entertain myself at least. Odubel Herrera was arrested. This isn't funny. Sorry. He was arrested in Atlantic City this week on charges of domestic violence. He's out of the lineup. He's put on administrative leave by the Phils. And just in time, Bryce Harper started to heat up at the plate, so he's sort of making up for that loss. He drove in 4 with Bomb on Wednesday night. He's 5 for his last 7 as I record this. Has 3 home runs, 13 RBIs in his last 11 games. Finally started to pay some dividends out there. They say he's relaxed. He was trying too hard after signing that huge contract going to a new city. I can see that. Hopefully he does get hot. He's fun to watch when he's hitting the ball. Mike Trout, on the other hand, not so much right this moment. Not doing a hell of a lot. Not getting a ton of pitches either, though. He was out of a lineup on Wednesday, has a sore foot, foul ball went off it, but expected to be back in Thursday, not out long term. He's only hitting .276 right now, but his on-base percentage, .449. He's getting walked an awful lot, and he's taking pitches. He's taking his walks. It's even better. He's got 12 bombs, too, so his OPS up over 1,000. I mean, he's doing what Mike Trout does. He'll heat up eventually. If he gets any pitches to hit, he'll be fine. The announced attendance down at the Tropicana Dome, that thing that they play in Tampa St. Pete, the announced attendance for the Rays-Blue Jays game the other night was 5,786. 5,786. fans, quote unquote, came to watch the Tampa Bay Rays play the Toronto Blue Jays in a Major League Baseball game in Tampa, St. Pete. The lowest attendance in Rays franchise history. That's saying something. And this is a team. It's just one game behind the Yankees. One game behind in the American League East. They drew 57-86 to that domed aberration down there in Tampa. This is sad. I don't even know that it's the ballpark. Everybody's like, we need a new park. We need a new place to play. Sometimes some cities don't support franchises. If you're not drawing more than 5,700, I don't care where you're playing. If you're not drawing more than 5,700 people when you are one game out of first place and you have a team like that, maybe it's the city. Maybe Montreal wants a team back, right? Portland kind of wants it. How about Mexico City? Not very far. You just fly them over the Gulf and set up camp in Mexico City, right? How about Puerto Rico? I don't think that. I hope they don't get the funding. I hope they don't get the funding for that ballpark. Now, I'm not convinced it's going to make a ton of difference with attendance. I think that team just doesn't care, or that city just doesn't care about its baseball team. All right, quick zip around the major leagues. Yankees are in first place, still in the American League East, 36-19, 17 games over 500. They are a game up on the Tampa Bay Rays, 34-19. The Red Sox back there at 29-27. Looks like they've lost 5 of their last 10. Tampa and New York both playing really good baseball with Toronto and Baltimore, who the Tigers just played, bringing up the rear. Minnesota, best team in baseball so far this year, at least record-wise, 37-17, 685 winning percentage. They are 9.5 games up on the Cleveland Indians. This juggernaut are in their decline, that's for sure. Twins are just running away with this division. Won 8 out of 10. The Indians have lost 7 out of 10. The White Sox still in third place. Detroit 21-32. The Tigers are, and they've won a couple games. Sweet, isn't that nice? They won a series. Don't get used to it. Going to Atlanta this weekend. Kansas City bringing up the rear at 18-37, 19.5 back of the Minnesota Twins. Out in the American League West, Houston on top of everybody. 7.5 game lead over Oakland. Texas, Los Angeles, the Angels of Anaheim. Out there in Seattle, 10 games under 500 at 24-34. Swinging over to the National League, the Philadelphia Phillies still hanging in there, playing 600 ball at 33-22. They've won 7 out of 10, 2 in a row. Got a 3.5 game lead over the Atlanta Braves, who the Tigers will be visiting down at SunTrust Park in the ATL this weekend. Braves are 3.5 back at 30-26. That's a good baseball team. And if they get Craig Kimbrell and or Dallas Keuchel, watch out for the Atlanta Braves in the East this year. Mets are at 27-28. I don't know how Mickey Callaway still has a job. There's a lot of injuries, granted. Yoenis Cespedes, did you hear about him? I haven't heard much of him. I figured he was out of baseball. I have not heard anything about Yoenis Cespedes in a really long time, at least on the baseball field. Well, he's down at his ranch, I think, in Florida. Over the weekend, maybe, or last week, whatever it was. He steps in a hole on his ranch, doing some ranchy stuff, and fractures his ankle. He's out for the year. Had ankle surgery. He's done. He's not going to be back at all this year. I don't know when he was scheduled to return anyway. So here's the thing, baseball guys. Don't go do ranchy stuff during the season. Why you got a ranch, man? You know how much money you've made in your life? You got to raise cattle? What's going on here? Get another hobby, dude. Look at Verlander. He buys cars. He doesn't go out and, tend to his steer and step in holes and shred his ankle. He sits in his garage in his Lamborghini. Maybe he listens to Led Zeppelin really loud. Maybe that's his hobby, Yoenis. You should shadow Verlander. That's all I'm saying. You're stepping in a hole in the field, dude. Washington. Most disappointing team in baseball. Speaking of guys who should be fired. Well, I forget his name. The manager of the... why does he still have a job? I know the guy's name. I can't think of it right now. But 24-32 with Scherzer, with Strasburg, with Rendon. The team isn't going to work, man. This team isn't going to work. You break it down. You build around Juan Soto. You keep Max Scherzer intact. You got Strasburg signed up. Go get your haul for Rendon and start putting something together there. You don't have to do a complete rebuild in Washington. You never do when you've got Strasburg and Scherzer there, but that team ain't going to get it done. Quit picking them. If they don't start to do some sort of a significant rebuild over the offseason this year, when it comes time to do the show next year or to talk baseball with your buddies about who's going to do what, leave the Nationals alone. Just pretend they don't even exist. It's time for them to prove they can do something. It's time to quit expecting them to perform up to their capabilities. They have to prove something now. Miami Marlins 19-34 over there in the National League East. I saw something online this week on the Twitter talking about the Miami team. And if you can go back about 5 years and think of all of the players that Miami has lost one way or another, imagine them on that team down there in South Beach now. Giancarlo Stanton, JT Realmuto, guy out there in San Diego, having a hard time with names tonight. Paddock? I think that was the guy that San Diego got when they traded Fernando Rodney to Miami. He's turned into one of the best pitchers in the National League this year. Chris Paddock, right? Now, there's a lot of ball players out there. That team would look really, really good had they never left. And think about the loss of Jose Fernandez as well. Had he not died on that boat. That'd be a really good team. A really good team down there in Miami. What a tragic loss that was, Jose Fernandez. I still think about that a lot. That kid at that age was incredible. He was on course, on track to become one of the all-time greats. He died at, 23? Terrible. National League Central, the Cubbies still on top of the Brewers. It's tight, though. It's only a one-game lead. Pittsburgh's 4 back at 27-27. Seems like they're always at 500, doesn't it? St. Louis at 26-28, only 5 back. And the Cincinnati Reds, my preseason, maybe a surprise team. 26-30. They're only 4 games under 500, and they're only 6 back of the Cubs. Nobody's really doing a lot to put that division away. The Cubs are only 8 games over 500. The Dodgers are much more than 8 games over 500. They're sitting at 37-19. Right behind the Twinkies, I think, for best record in baseball. That's a deep team. That's a good team. That's a dangerous team. That is the team I think you got to pick in the National League if you got any brains, right? 37-19, as I said, an 8-game lead over the retooled San Diego Padres, who are 2 games over 500. Arizona and Colorado, just as they were the other day, they're both sitting at 500. And the San Francisco Giants bringing up the back end at 21-33. Around baseball this weekend, got some key matchups. About 5 really intriguing series taking place around the MLB. Red Sox-Yankees. Seems like the Red Sox-Yankees are always playing, right? They're going to be on some channel this weekend, but that's a pretty good matchup. Red Sox got to start taking care of the Yankees to get back into this, and they are doing this weekend at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. Twins and Tampa. Twins are in Tampa. That's a battle of 2 really good teams again. And once the Tigers are done with Atlanta, those are the 2 teams coming to town. Got a rough stretch coming up in Tigerdom, I'm afraid. Also, Cubs and Cardinals this weekend. That's always a good series. Like I said, the Cardinals are sitting at 26-28. Cubs are 31-23. But this series rather is being played in St. Louis, and those are always hard-fought battles between those 2 teams. Just don't like each other at all. They've learned to hate each other. Hate is learned, friends. Those 2 teams have learned to hate each other. Astros are at the A's. Battle of first and second place teams, but those teams are nowhere near the same level, sorry to say, even without Carlos Correa. But A's could make it interesting. They play, they surprise people. They have a history of surprising people all the time. And if you're interested in Justin Verlander, watching him pitch, he's going to go Saturday at Rickey Henderson Field out there in Oakland. Phillies are at the Dodgers this weekend as well. Battle of first place teams. Bryce Harper in Tinseltown. That'll be fun. And the Tigers this weekend are in Atlanta, as I mentioned. So let's turn our attention to the Tigers, shall we? Tigers are in Atlanta this week. They got a 3-game series through this weekend. Where are my matchups at? Looks like we got Spencer Turnbull going on Friday. Off day Thursday, Turnbull and Fultonevich going on Friday. Saturday, it's Daniel Norris against Soroka. This guy, Soroka, right? Yeah. He's a Cy Young candidate. Really putting together a hell of a season. And Matt Boyd takes on Julio Teheran on Sunday. And then, as I said, Tampa Bay and Minnesota coming into town after that. So this is a rough stretch. Tigers got 2 out of 3 in Baltimore this week. Thank God. Because now you got 3 with Atlanta. And then you got 3 with the Tampa Bay Rays. And then you got 3 with the Minnesota Twins. I don't care if those games are home or away. The second 6 are at home. 3 in Atlanta, the next 6 are at home. I don't care. Probably going to be a rough stretch. So I hope you enjoyed these games, these last 2 at least, against the Baltimore Orioles. Jeimer Candelario, I mentioned in the last podcast, he was doing really well down there. He didn't like his demotion, apparently, and he got called right back up when Spencer Turnbull was put on the bereavement list. Moves within the organization, Brian Garcia. Not sure if you know who he is. You will before too long. He was one of the top prospects. He was pitching at AAA, dominating. I think he was closing at AAA a couple of years ago. Blew out his UCL and had Tommy John surgery. Now he's back. He's recovered. He was down at Erie to kind of break his arm in. He's been returned to AAA Toledo. If he does anything, and he pitched this week. He actually pitched on Wednesday in Toledo. But if he does anything in Toledo, look for him in Detroit really soon. Reininger, keep your bag packed, buddy. Daniel Pinheiro transferred from Erie to AAA Toledo. He's an infielder. Zach Houston went the other way, Toledo to Erie. And infielder Cole Peterson, he was, I do believe, with the Whitecaps last year. You know, he's moved up from Class A Lakeland to Erie. He's been doing pretty well down there. Elsewhere around the minor leagues, talking about the Erie Seawolves, AA affiliate of the Tigers, that played the Reading the Reading. I always want to say Reading, but it's the Reading Fightin' Phils on Wednesday. Beat them 3-0. Erie sit at 24-24. And Alex Faedo, check this line out. He went 6 1/3, 2 hits, didn't give up any runs at all. Struck out 12 Fightin' Phils. Only walked 2. Got the win in the game. His ERA is down to 3.81. That's dominating, though. I'd like to see some consistency out of him, but he may not be too long for Erie either if he starts to put together a few more games like that. Jose Asagar, he's made some progress this year. 2 for 4. Hit a home run, 3 RBIs on Wednesday. Moving back to Monday. Seawolves played Bowie once again, Matt Manning Day, and he just keeps trucking along, man. 6 innings, 4 hits, only gave up 1 run, struck out 7, 1 walk, took a no decision in a 4-1 loss against Bowie. Offense didn't give him any support. We'll take a peek at Toledo now. Wednesday in Toledo against the Gwinnett Stripers. Well, they got beat 9-4. Gregory Soto pitched. Went 3 innings, gave up 5 hits, 4 runs, 4 strikeouts, walked a couple. Not a great outing, especially after coming down and, doing okay up in Detroit. Goes down to Toledo and 4 runs in 3 innings. Matt Hall, I don't know if you remember him, but he was in the bullpen over the weekend in Detroit. He was sent down, didn't get any action, but he took the loss on Wednesday. Throwing 2 2/3 innings, gave up 5 hits, 4 earned runs, 6 strikeouts, though. Out of the bullpen, 6 strikeouts in 2 2/3 innings, walked 2, but gave up 4 runs and 5 hits. Okie dokie. I mentioned Brian Garcia, inning, 2 hits, 2 strikeouts in his return to AAA. And shortstop Willie Castro. A lot of people are screaming, Willie Castro, Willie Castro. His numbers have been gaudy. He's been really, really hot down in Toledo. He went 2 for 5 on Wednesday. He's hitting .351 on the season now, and that batting average has skyrocketed in the last couple of weeks. Back on Tuesday against Gwinnett, the Mudhens beat the Stripers 5-4. Daz Cameron only hitting .250 at this point. I'll get to Jacoby Jones here in a little bit, but Daz, take your time, buddy. The situation's not quite as dire as it was maybe a few weeks ago. This Willie Castro guy on Tuesday went 3 for 4, scored 3 runs, hit a home run against Gwinnett, and Jake Rogers hitting .295 down there. Another part of the Justin Verlander deal. He just got promoted to AAA not too long ago. They're worried about his bat. His glove is all world. They're worried whether or not he can hit. He's hitting .295, and his OPS, if I looked at it correctly, was over 1,000 in limited time. He hasn't been up very long, so I'm sure that will drop. And one other guy to look at down in the minor leagues, the centerpiece, not one of the centerpieces, the centerpiece in the Justin Verlander deal, Franklin Perez. Showed a lot of promise, man. They were excited to get him. He cannot stay healthy. He's back on the injured list. Shoulder tendonitis this time. He's going to be out another 4 to 6 weeks. He's still at high A. He was at double A with the Houston organization, I think, before they traded him at like 19 or 20. It's almost 2 years later, and he's at high A, advanced A, for the Tigers. You know how many innings he's thrown since the Tigers grabbed him? Exactly 23 total innings in 2018 and 2019. The kid cannot stay on the field for whatever reason. All right, let's turn our attention to the Detroit Tigers.
All right, you guys, let's listen up. We won a game yesterday. We win one tomorrow. That's called a winning streak. It has happened before. So let's see some hustle. Let's jack it up a little. I got a feeling things are about to turn around for us.
Yeah, Tigers won a couple of games, 2 in a row. It's the first time they've won 2 straight games, I think, since the end of April. First series they've won since the first week of May, and they did it against that powerhouse, that stellar team, that team of household name superstars, the Baltimore Orioles. How many players did you know that the Orioles trotted out on the field this week? Did you know? Well, let's see what I knew. I'll tell you who I knew. I knew Trey Mancini. I knew Jonathan VR. Good little ball player. Baltimore's lucky to have VR. They won't have him after the trade deadline, but they're lucky to have him now. I knew Dylan Bundy. I knew Michael Gibbons. I think we saw him last night. And the guy who looks like he belongs in a reggae band. Why am I drawing it? Miguel Castro, right? Other than that, I have no idea. I was not very familiar with too many of these Baltimore Orioles. And I love the Orioles, man. I am a big fan of the Orioles. When I first started following baseball as a 9, 10-year-old kid, Orioles were my first favorite team in the early 80s. I love that team. Their colors, the orange and black, were the same as my high school. Okay, so I liked that, and I really dug the cute little bird on the helmet. So, yeah, Orioles are my team. I like the Orioles. And the Orioles were really good in the early 80s. They were really good. Steve Stone, and you had Sammy Stewart. I don't know why I'm remembering him. Denny Martinez was on that team. Eddie Murray. This was right around the time that Cal Ripken was coming up. But even before that, they were really good. They had Doug DeCinces, Mark Belanger, Ken Singleton in the outfield. Remember Al Bumbry? First autograph I ever got, Rick Dempsey. Got him in left field at Tiger Stadium. He walked up and had my program in my back pocket. It was wrinkled up. I passed it through you remember the chain link fence on the top of the field out there, or the top of the fence? Like this mesh fence you could pass stuff through to get signed. He looks at it. He's like, whose crappy scorebook is this? Mine. But he signed it for me. Still have that to this day. So the Orioles are Mike Boddicker, Storm Davis. Now, this team, going back to the 1960s, they had 4 20-game winners in a rotation once. This team has history. This is a proud organization. Old St. Louis Browns, right? This team has history. Did you know they were the St. Louis Browns before they moved to Baltimore? They have been around. They're one of the, I don't know if the Browns are an original charter member of the American League. They're real close, though. This is a proud franchise. And to see them like this, where they're trotting people, who? Who are you? Who? Your name Stevie? Stevie Wilkerson? I thought it was Brad Wilkerson. Oh, Wilkerson's gone. Brad Wilkerson. What? Wait, that doesn't make sense. Who? Stevie? Stevie? Richie? The Orioles. It's there's a really good article. I think it was in the either the Free Press or the Detroit News, talking about how 1/3 of Major League Baseball teams, like the Tigers and like the Orioles, are in some sort of rebuild mode, and how this is terrible for the game of baseball. There was hardly anybody at these games Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Memorial Day wasn't even that packed out there in Baltimore. Good crowd, but not great. To see that franchise in that state, something has to be done with this. You can't have 1/3 of your franchises tanking because of economics, because they can't afford to put a good product on the field. 1 or 2 teams are always going to suck. We know that. Everybody sort of accepts that. But now it's 1/3 of Major League Baseball is in a rebuild mode of one kind or another. The Tigers are tanking. You understand that. You can see it. The Tigers are tanking right now. They're not willing to bring up their best players. They want to go into a development. They're not willing to spend any money on it. So you've got Ryan Carpenter. Nothing against Ryan Carpenter. He threw a great game this week. Again, nothing against that guy. But do you think he belongs on a major league team? Or are they tanking? Are they putting warm bodies out there to ride the season out? Get another draft pick next year. They got number 5 this year. Had the top overall pick last year. Are they shooting for like the 2 pick in 2020? It's disturbing. It's disgusting, actually. I talk a lot about the integrity of the game. Every team out there, every team should be able to put the most competitive team they can put on the field every day. They should be able to do that. To see the Baltimore Orioles, Eddie Murray's team, Cal Ripken Jr.'s team, Rich Dower, DeCinces, Jim Palmer, Dave McNally, Mike Cuellar. To see that team, Brooks Robinson, Frank Robinson. To see that team put that garbage on the field, and this isn't the first year. Something has to be addressed with this. Something has to happen with baseball and its economics at some point. Or you have to start contracting. I do not have a problem with contraction. Shockingly. Let's start with the San Diego Padres, shall we? Then the Arizona Diamondbacks. And then that team in Tampa. Nobody's going to watch them anyway. 5,700 people? Come on. Where do you think Blake Snell would fit? You do a contraction draft. Send Blake Snell to who's got the worst record in baseball right now. I'm going to look real quick. 389, 358 looks like Miami. Kansas City at 327. 304. Blake Snell, probably the top player for the Tampa Bay Rays, goes to the Baltimore Orioles. Instantly, that team's better. See, problem with that is, where do the Tigers pick? Oh, God, they probably take Manny Machado. See, I can't win. I don't have a problem with that at all, though. You get rid of these failing or marginally succeeding expansion teams first. I have no problem with that whatsoever. A lot of people do. And the people who live there, one of the 5,700 that show up at Tampa, will howl and scream, and it sucks for them. But something has to be done to keep from having 1/3 of the organizations in Major League Baseball tanking or rebuilding all at the same time. While these larger market teams never have to go through that. The Yankees retooled themselves a couple of years ago, still traded for Giancarlo Stanton, still got James Paxton over the winter. Ridiculous. And that can happen. And Cleveland, team a lot like Detroit, a market size a lot like Detroit, what are they going to do? They're going to be moving Trevor Bauer. They're not going to be stocking themselves up. Trevor Bauer's on his way out. Kluber, he's hurt now. He's out for most of the season, if not the entire season, but he's gone. I mean, they developed Kluber. They should be able to sign him and keep this guy. Got him via trade, but they developed the guy. Having your teams have to get rid of all of their best talent to restock the farm system because of economics, call me silly. I don't think that should be happening. And I really hate to see the Baltimore Orioles in the state like this. And the Tigers. And the Kansas City Royals. Man, it's like they had to put everything together to peak at the right time to even compete. Now they're right back where they were 5, 6, 8 years ago. Or where's the next Hosmer that they're going to have to let go? You get my point. I don't like it. You shouldn't like it either. If you're a baseball fan, you shouldn't like it either. There should be maybe a handful of these teams every year, 3, 4, that are not even marginally competitive, fine. But when you have 1/3 and they're playing each other, like the Orioles and the Tigers, how many people do you think outside of those two markets were even gave half a rat's butt about watching these two teams? And rant. But please, for the love of God, do something about this, huh? All right, let's recap the series at Baltimore. Going back to Monday, Memorial Day, Daniel Norris Day, pulled with 2 out in the 6th inning after he hit the magical 100-pitch mark. Gave up 4 runs. Only 2 runs were earned. Again, the defense killed him. This Nunez kid, boy, more on him in a minute. I don't like seeing him in the batter's box. I don't know a lot about him. I haven't seen him play a lot. He's dangerous. He launched a laser beam off the very top of the foul pole out of left field on Monday. Alcantara got him out of the 6th inning. VR blasted a leadoff homer in the 7th inning. First pitch, center cut fastball. Put the Orioles up 5-3. Hardy came in the 8th inning. Good inning, 12 pitches. He looked really good, actually. I don't know who this Armstrong kid is either, their closer. First 2 on to start the 9th inning. Jones strikes out at a check swing. Goodrum flies out to left field. Had a couple of people on. Double steal put the tying runs in scoring position. But Josh Harrison pulled after he stole third base. Pulled a hamstring. He's on the injured list now. And Jacoby Jones, though. Boy, what a resurgence, huh? Had a 2-out RBI single in the 4th inning. He's getting good hits, and he's actually getting some clutch hits these days. I figured out who Jacoby Jones reminds me of, finally. You're going to laugh. I saw Matt Holliday on a daily basis at Coors Field when Holliday was young, from 2005 to 2007. And Jacoby Jones looks to me like a smaller version of a young Matt Holliday. He's nowhere near the size. And he's a lot faster. But there's something about him, something about the way he stands in the box, something about the way he even wears his hat, his helmet. Some of his face. That's what it was. I've been trying to figure it out for a long time, and it reminds me of Matt Holliday. Best compliment I can give you, man. All right, Tuesday it was Matt Boyd against Dylan Bundy. Phil Cuzzy behind the plate. Ridiculous strike zone again. I won't berate you with the strike zone stuff again, but it's getting a lot of talk finally. Boyd was coming off a scoreless start against Miami. First inning, Miguel Cabrera slapped a little 2-out base hit, knocking in Christian Stewart. Knocked it to right field, of course. That's where he does all his damage these days. Second inning, Jacoby Jones, 2-out RBI double. Drove in Grayson Greiner, who got on with a 2-out single. So a nice little piece of 2-out production there. Nico Goodrum, he put him up 3-0 with a 1-out home run in the 5th inning. And Jacoby Jones, in the 6th inning, didn't drive in a run, but his second hit, his second double. This one was of the hustle variety. I think the ball sort of squirted away from the outfield for just a minute, just a second, and he used his wheels to get in to second base with 2 outs. Really impressed with that. 7th inning got dicey, though, didn't it? On Tuesday, 84 pitches starting the 7th inning for Matt Boyd, 60-24 ball-to-strike ratio. Boyd was really, really good. He walks Pedro Severino on 4 straight pitches. 2 of those borderline. Could have went either way. Got ahead 0-2 to this DJ Stewart kid. I like this DJ Stewart guy. He's a scrappy little hit. I don't know a lot about him. Just this is the first 3 games I've seen him. Scrappy. The Stewart kid worked it back to 2-2 and line drive up the middle. First and second. Nobody out. 3-0 lead. End of the line for Matt Boyd. So he's leaving with a 3-0 lead. 2 on. Nobody out. Now, who do you go to in this bullpen? In Buck we trust. Every time in the 7th inning. Gardenhire, I guess, has a lot of faith. Maybe it's the best option he has. So he went to Buck Farmer again, and he faced Dwight Smith. Guy's got 9 home runs. I think he came in to pinch hit for Keon Broxton. Farmer falls behind 2-0, and then comes all the way back to strike him out on a beautiful 2-2 changeup. He probably should throw a few more of those. Great pitch. And then Stevie Wilkerson. Again, Farmer falls behind 2-0 and comes back Again, I remember this one, though. I remember the pitch that he struck out this Wilkerson guy on. It was a 96-mile-an-hour swing-back fastball on the inside corner. Reminded me of Maddox. Perfectly executed. But he's got his execution, man, like a lot of pitchers, I guess. But Farmer's got great stuff when he's putting the ball where he wants to. So now there's 2 outs. Gardenhire goes out, pulls him for Daniel Stump to face the pinch hitter Ruiz. Stump threw some decent pitches, but again, falls behind 3-1. Coming in out of the bullpen, falling behind hitters. Thank God it's the Baltimore Orioles, right? He had to come into the strike zone 3-1, threw a fastball, got away with one, and then popped him up on 3-2 to end the inning. So he got the job done. Both Farmer and Stump got the job done, and thankfully, Boyd got a little reward this time and preserved his second consecutive scoreless outing. Matt Boyd, my friends, is your all-star. Joe Jimenez came in to work the bottom of the 8th inning. And again, more adventures in pitching. Leadoff walk. Now, he was throwing harder on Tuesday. Either that or the gun was hot. I don't know, but he was hitting 97 with regularity. Every time I've seen him pitch this year, he's been right around 95, occasionally at 97. He was throwing 97 with regularity on Tuesday. Struck out Mancini on a really good slider, check swing. And then Renato Nunez, again, here he is. This guy comes in, and he is just, I don't like seeing him. And he put together a really ominous-looking at-bat. Jimenez was coming inside. Nunez was ready and just rocking 110-mile-an-hour exit velocity foul balls to left field, pulling the ball, inside fastballs off of Joe Jimenez. I feel like he got lucky to get out of that at-bat by hitting him. He hit him. I just felt like Nunez was going to hit something over Utah Street. And then after he hits the guy, falls behind Severino 3-1. He gets to 3-2, and then Severino did him a favor. After fouling a few pitches off, he swung at a ball up and way out of the strike zone to end the inning. But that was the only reason that Jimenez got out of that. He got help. And you remember me talking about intent, maybe in a podcast or two back? You're getting favorable results on bad pitches. Are you putting the ball where you want to? Are you getting the results you want with the pitches being executed in the location you want? Or are you basically getting some help from the hitter or the umpire? That was a case right there. Getting out of that inning, he shouldn't have. That should have been ball 4. Should have been another runner on base, and God knows what happens after that. But that's what I was talking about with intent. That happens with regularity in the lower levels of the minor leagues. You're going to get people to chase. You're going to be able to overpower people on pitches down the middle of the strike zone in A-ball and double A ball, even maybe sometimes in triple A. But you get to the major leagues, and you're throwing balls 2 feet out of the strike zone on 3-2. Most hitters who do not play for the Baltimore Orioles, at this stage in the franchise anyway, are not going to swing at that crap. He got a lot of help there in the 8th inning. Something isn't right with that kid, command-wise. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. He was flying open on Tuesday. He almost hit more than one person with more than one pitch. So I see that. It looked like he was trying to get a little extra velocity, but yeah. So thankfully, they got a break. They got out of the inning, but that was not very... The odds do not look good as far as Joe Jimenez and his command goes. That could have gotten ugly really fast. Top of the 9th inning, Jacoby Jones. He didn't get a hit here, but this was again, he's continuing this string of really good at-bats where you can tell he knows exactly what's going on in the batter's box. Because I forget who was pitching. It might have been Castro. I don't remember for sure. But he took some really tough sliders, and he spit on them. These are the pitches that he was flailing at. Yeah, and pitches worse than these that he was flailing at 2-3 weeks ago, a month ago. But there was 1 or 2 sliders in that at-bat I remember that were deadly. They were executed beautifully. And he saw them, he tracked them, and he didn't even flinch. What has changed with this kid in 10 days? This Jacoby Jones is a hell of a ball player right now. And I think it all has to do with tracking the ball, pitch recognition, having a plan at the plate, Not just going up there and flailing and everything, guessing on every single pitch, tracking and reacting to the ball rather than guessing. I don't know what happened. I do not know what happened, but if this is the Jacoby Jones that he's going to turn into, we've got a center fielder. I mean, they said he's added like 40 points to his batting average in the last 10 days or so. It's been more than that. I remember seeing his batting average at like 145. It's pushing 220 now. I mean, nothing to write home about. You're not going to get a 9-figure contract hitting 220. But compared to where he was a couple of weeks ago, I was just really impressed with those takes on those sliders too. I don't get excited over walks too well. Sometimes I do. Like that. And he earned another one. The one when I was ranting about the strike zone against the Mets. That was another really good, same idea. So hopefully he can continue this. Hopefully he's going to get a little confidence. And if he does, good for him. Good for the Tigers, actually. Green came in bottom of the ninth inning on Tuesday, wrapped it up 3-0. Really good. Drama-free, clean ninth inning. Green's league-leading 17th save on Tuesday. I'm going to owe him an apology before long, aren't I? Matt Boyd, man, he was the story of the game. Back-to-back scoreless outings. Yeah, first one against the Marlins, granted. This one was against the Orioles, fine. But this is exactly what you're supposed to do against inferior teams. If you're a top-notch pitcher, if you're a 2 or a 3, these are the kind of outings that you need to have against teams like the Marlins and teams like the Orioles. Don't discount it too much. He did exactly what he was supposed to do against these two teams. They didn't beat him last week. They should have. They did get him this week. Nice little shutout. I was really happy with that. Jones, 2 more hits, on base 3 times, seeing and recognizing the ball. I mentioned that. Christian Stewart in this game. Doubled twice. Once to right field, once to left field. Enjoyed seeing that. And Miguel Cabrera, I'm still seeing nothing with this guy, indicating that something is not wrong with him physically. There's nothing there. He's getting his hits. He's a Hall of Fame hitter. I understand that. He is getting hits. He's always going to get hits. But the power is gone. They're not afraid of him. And had a nice, quick, brisk game to wrap up the series on Wednesday. This was John Means against Ryan Carpenter last night, as I record this anyway. Pair of lefties. This Means kid has had a really good start to the 2019 season. Reminded me a little bit of Patrick Corbin, I guess. First time I'd seen him. Good-looking little pitcher, though. This one started off kind of weird. It looked like Ryan Carpenter was kind of cruising in the first inning, and then all of a sudden, he plunks Trey Mancini with a curveball, of all things. 2 outs, brings up this guy, Renato Nunez, and right on cue, this guy rips a double into the left center field gap. The throw was good. Looked like Hicks could have made the play, maybe thrown the guy out at home, but ball got by him. First run scores. And Orioles go up 1-0 in the bottom of the first inning. Tigers tied it up in the top of the fourth. Nick Castellanos ripped a RBI double off the right field wall to score Nico Gooderham, who led off with an infield hit. Then in the bottom of the fifth inning, the Orioles responded. Keon Broxton hit a first pitch opposite field bomb to right field. Orioles back on top 2-1. And that was it until the top of the eighth inning. And John Hicks comes in and hits a leadoff moonshot, 433 feet off Michael Gibbons to tie the game at 2. Third home run of the year for Hicks. They hit the crap out of it too, didn't he? And then Dawel Lugo got on first base. I'm only mentioning this because here's an amazing statistic for you, especially if you're of a certain age. As we sit here on May 30th, Dawel Lugo on first base, Jacoby Jones put down a bunt. Turned out to be the first sacrifice bunt of the entire year for the Detroit Tigers. They have won. Jones got the job done. Didn't get anybody in, didn't wind up scoring the run. But the first sacrifice bunt of the year, with this team having trouble scoring, this much trouble scoring runs, and you've got one sacrifice bunt, maybe try a few more. Just a thought. Get your runners in scoring position. I like small ball. Anyway, John Hicks tied it up, and then we cruise to the top of the ninth inning, feeling like another marathon. Not a lot of runs scored in this game. Not a lot of runs, feeling like they were going to be scored. Castellanos draws a 4-pitch leadoff walk. Then Cabrera does what Cabrera does. He flew out to right field. A lazy fly ball to right. Used to love to see him come to the plate in the top of the ninth inning of a tie ball game with a guy sitting on first base. You figured something good was probably going to happen. Now you can almost predict it. There's one of three things: a ground ball to the left side, a base hit up the middle, or some looping fly ball toward right field. And that's exactly what happened. He lifted a lazy fly ball to right. It was obvious he was trying to go that way the entire at bat. He wasn't concerned or even trying or putting any effort into pulling the ball or hitting it up the middle. He was trying to go to right field. In that situation with a slow runner on first base, why? You're Miguel Cabrera. You drive in runs. Drive in the damn run. So that at bat, something isn't right with the man. I'm convinced of this now. I think it's something physical. I really do. I think we're going to find that out soon enough. Sooner rather than later. 2 home runs, and it's June tomorrow. 2 home runs. The day after tomorrow. Anyway, lazy fly ball to right field, of course. And then Brandon Dixon saves the day. Took a hanging curve and hit a 2-run shot over the center field wall just out of the reach of Keon Broxton. And that was your ball game. Put the Tigers up 4-2. Clutch hit from Brandon Dixon. This guy's got, 5 home runs? Miguel Cabrera's got 2. I do not have the statistics in front of me. I know Miguel Cabrera has a lot more at-bats than Brandon Dixon. So, thank God for Brandon Dixon. I did not want to sit through a 15-inning game last night. And that kid's been really good. I looked up his line before I cracked the mic here. He's hitting .306. He's got 5 bombs, 16 RBIs. His last 15 games he's played, Dixon's hitting .326, 4 bombs, 8 RBIs. In his last 15 games, .326, 4 and 8. Cabrera's got 2 home runs on the entire year. Where is it? Then Shane Green comes in. I'm actually starting to feel good about him coming in the game now. He looked really good. Got a head 0-2 on the leadoff man, Keon Broxton, and then destroyed him on a slider. Ugly slider. It was filthy. DJ Stewart was the second hitter. I saw a weird-looking pitch from him on strike 2. I don't know if anybody else saw this, but does Green throw a changeup? I'm not familiar. Not very often if he does. He threw one to this DJ Stewart kid, sort of backed up and dropped into the strike zone for strike 2. And then this kid, man, DJ Stewart, he gets gritty. He gets 2 strikes on him. He battles. I like this kid. Green got him for a called strike 3 on a swingback fastball that dotted the glove. That was one of the better pitches I've seen from him this year. A swingback fastball. Hicks didn't move the glove at all. It was a beautiful pitch. When he's hitting his spots, he's deadly. When he's pitching like that, ain't nobody hitting him. His stuff moves entirely too much. Stevie Wilkerson comes up and wrapped a 2-out double on a fastball up. And then Pedro Severino pinch hit. Got down 3-1, Green did, and then popped out to center field. 18th save of the season, leading the American League. I think he may have tied. Kirby Yates may still have more saves. Have to look at that. But either way, Shane Green having a really good start to the 2019 season. He looked really good last night. So the Tigers have won 2 out of 3 now as they head to Atlanta after the off day. Half glass full, half glass empty. They've lost 12 of 15. However you want to look at it, I will leave that up to you. So Brandon Dixon, the star of this one, he's been hitting really well. Neil Ramirez, however, may have been the player of the game. He threw 3 innings of really good baseball after Carpenter came out of the game. Saved the bullpen, saved the middle relief core, further stress. And I think he struck out 4 or 5 in those 3 innings. He looked really good. I'd like to see this guy get a start. Just see what happens. Neil Ramirez has been really, really good. Ronnie Rodriguez, on the other hand, has not been good. 3 more strikeouts tonight. I think he is now 4 for 48. Something like that. And he's not playing defense. He's not going to be able to stick around on this team for very long if he doesn't start hitting the ball. That's his calling card. That's the only value he has, is when he's hitting ropes all over the field. And the last strikeout he had, that ball was 2 feet out of the strike zone. I don't know what he's doing. But all of a sudden, he was hitting like gangbusters a month ago. And now, no. How quick the bottom can fall out from underneath you, huh? That was a nice game tonight. Nice couple of games, actually. 4-2 tonight, 3-0 Tuesday night. Tigers looked like a ball club again. So hopefully this is the end of the rough patch. Doesn't get any easier from here, though. I can tell you that. Got 3 in Atlanta, and then you got 3 with Tampa Bay. At home next week, Blake Snell, after the off day, is slated to open up the series on Tuesday at Comerica Park. So if you want to see Blake Snell as a Tampa Bay Ray before they contract their franchise and Snell's drafted by the Orioles, you have your chance at the Copa on Tuesday. All right, once again, looking at the rotation for the weekend, it's Turnbull and Fultonevich coming up on Friday. Saturday, Norris and Soroka. Soroka's been really good. He's a Cy Young candidate, setting records. He did something like 8 straight starts to start a season with 1 run or less. Does that sound right to you? It's something like that. The guy is really, really good. And then you got Matt Boyd and Julio Teheran taking the mound on Sunday down at SunTrust Park in Atlanta. So there you go. Try to do another one of these on Sunday after the Braves series wraps up. We'll see how it goes. Thanks for clicking in. Do Baseball Toddcast on the ChristopherMedia.net network, also on Apple Podcasts, Google Play. I am on Stitcher, brand new over at Spotify as well. And if you got something for me, ToddZillaX@gmail.com. That is my email. Best way to get me. Unless you have my phone number, you can text me. Be nice about it, all right? Don't be jerks. Thanks for clicking in. Rest in peace, Bill Buckner. You're going to be missed. Thanks for being a class act. We'll talk to you next time. So long.